David Carradine walks into a martial arts school in Los Angeles, and the man who trained with Bruce Lee for 10 years hands him a wooden box. Inside are handwritten notes. Notes Bruce Lee wrote while watching Kung Fu. Notes about everything David did wrong, and everything he did right. Los Angeles, California, September 1979. Thursday night, 8:34 p.m., the Inosanto Academy, a small building on a quiet street in Marina del Rey. No flashy signs, no neon lights, just a simple door with a small plaque, the kind of place you only find if you know where to look. Inside this building trains the most authentic continuation of Bruce Lee's martial arts legacy. Not the movies, not the merchandise, the real thing. Jeet Kune Do, as Bruce Lee taught it to his closest students. Dan Inosanto runs this school. Filipino-American, early 40s. Compact and powerful, he does not look like a martial arts master from the movies. No flowing robes, no mystical presence. Just a man in training clothes who happens to be one of the most dangerous people alive. Dan trained with Bruce Lee for over a decade. Was Bruce's training partner, his confidant, his friend. Appeared in Game of Death, fighting Bruce in that famous scene with the nunchucks. When Bruce died, Dan became the keeper of the flame. The man who preserved Jeet Kune Do when everyone else was trying to exploit it. Tonight the academy is full. 30 students on the mat, mixed levels. Some beginners learning footwork, some advanced practitioners sparring in the corner. The smell of sweat and dedication, the sound of bodies moving through space. The front door opens. David Carradine walks in. Everything stops. 30 students freeze. Conversations die. Even the advanced practitioners stop mid-technique. Everyone stares at the man who just entered their sacred space. David Carradine, Kane from Kung Fu. The actor who played a Shaolin monk for 3 seasons. The man who became famous, pretending to be what these students spend their lives trying to actually become. Dan Inosanto stands in the center of the mat. He was demonstrating a technique when the door opened. Now he watches David approach with an expression that reveals nothing. David stops at the edge of the mat, does not step on. He knows enough to know you do not walk onto a training floor without permission, without removing your shoes, without showing respect. He waits. Dan studies him for a long moment. The room holds its breath. Then Dan walks across the mat. Stops in front of David. Mr. Carradine, Mr. Inosanto. David pauses. A friend told me if I wanted to understand what Bruce Lee really taught, I should come here. I hope I'm not intruding. Dan does not smile, does not frown, just looks at David with those evaluating eyes. You have been intruding for 6 years, every Thursday night at 8 o'clock, on televisions across America. The students shift uncomfortably. Some look angry, some look curious, all of them waiting to see what happens. David nods. I know. I have been playing something I do not understand, wearing something that wasn't made for me. That is why I am here, to learn, to understand. I am too old to become a real martial artist, but I thought, maybe, I could at least know what I have been pretending to be. Dan is quiet, considering. Then he does something unexpected. He turns to his students. Everyone take 5. Water break. The students disperse, confused but obedient. They move to the edges of the room, grab water bottles, pretend not to watch while watching everything. Dan gestures for David to follow him. Walks toward a small office at the back of the school. David follows. The office is simple, a desk, some chairs, photos on the wall. Every photo includes Bruce Lee, Bruce and Dan training, Bruce and Dan laughing, Bruce and Dan at a tournament. A lifetime of friendship frozen in frames. Dan sits behind the desk, gestures for David to sit across from him. David sits. Dan opens a drawer, pulls out a wooden box, old, worn, the kind of thing that has been handled many times. meaningful. He sets it on the desk between them. Do you know what this is? David shakes his head. Bruce kept notes on everything. Training sessions, fights he watched, movies he studied. He believed in constant learning, constant analysis, constant improvement. Dan taps the box. In 1972, when Kung Fu premiered, Bruce watched the first episode. Then he watched it again. Then he got a notebook and started writing. David feels something cold in his stomach. He watched every episode, every single one. And after each one, he wrote notes. What the show got wrong about martial arts. What it got wrong about Chinese philosophy. What it got wrong about movement and fighting and everything Bruce actually knew. Dan pauses. He was going to publish them. An article, maybe a book. Bruce Lee's critique of Hollywood Kung Fu would have sold 1 million copies. David braces himself. Of course, Bruce Lee hated it. Of course, the real thing despised the fake. Dan opens the box, but the notes are not what you think. He pulls out a stack of papers, handwritten, Bruce Lee's distinctive script, dense with observations, diagrams, arrows pointing to specific moments. He slides them across the desk to David. Read. David picks up the first page. His hands tremble slightly. Episode 1. Observations. The actor moves wrong. Stances too wide. Kicks have no power. Hands positioned for show, not function. Hollywood choreography. Expected. David's heart sinks, but he keeps reading. But the stillness is correct. When the character waits, he truly waits. No fidgeting, no anticipation, empty presence. This is harder than fighting. Most martial artists cannot do this. They are always ready to move, always tense. This actor has found something. David looks up at Dan. Keep reading. He reads more, page after page, episode after episode. Episode 7. The walking meditation scene. Wrong foot placement, wrong breathing rhythm. But the eyes are right. The actor looks at nothing and sees everything. This is Zen. Cannot be taught. He either understands or pretends so well that pretending becomes truth. Episode 12. The fight with the bandits. Terrible technique. Would not survive 30 seconds against real opponents. But notice how he moves after the fight. No celebration, no satisfaction. Just continuation. The violence did not touch him inside. This is the goal of martial arts that most martial artists never reach. How does he know this? David's eyes are wet. He did not expect this, did not expect Bruce Lee to see anything worth seeing. Dan watches him read. Bruce was angry at first, angry that Hollywood rejected him and gave his creation to someone who could not fight. But Bruce was never just angry. He was always analytical, always looking for truth, even in things he hated. He taps the papers. By episode 10, his notes changed. He stopped criticizing your technique because your technique was obviously wrong. Any beginner could see that. Instead, he started studying something else. What? Your presence, your stillness, the way you inhabited the philosophy, even while getting the physical expression completely wrong. Dan leans back. Bruce wrote something in his personal journal, not in these notes, in his private thoughts. I read it after he died. What did he write? Carradine understands something I have been trying to teach for years. The fight is not the point. The peace after the fight is the point. The peace during the fight is the point. He has never thrown a real punch in his life, but he has found the peace. I can throw perfect punches, but some days I cannot find the peace. Who is the real martial artist? David cannot speak. His throat is closed. Dan pushes the box toward him. Bruce wanted to meet you. Did you know that? David nods. I received a letter. After he died. Kareem delivered it. Then you know. Bruce did not hate you. Bruce was curious about you. He wanted to learn from you. Dan stands up, walks to the window, looks out at his students taking their water break. I was angry for years. At you, at Hollywood, at everyone who profited from Bruce's rejection. But I kept these notes because Bruce asked me to. He said someday, give them to Carradine. He needs to know what he actually accomplished. He turns back to David. You accomplished something, David. Not what you thought. Not action hero. Not martial arts icon. You showed 30 million people every week what inner peace looks like. Most of them will never throw a punch, but some of them might find stillness because they watched you find it. First. David holds the notes, Bruce Lee's handwriting, Bruce Lee's thoughts, Bruce Lee's unexpected respect for an actor who could not fight. Why now? Why give these to me now? 6 years after the show ended. Because you came here. You did not have to. You could have lived your whole life pretending you earned what you received. Instead, you walked into the one place in America where people would judge you hardest. You asked to understand what you have been faking. Dan almost smiles. Bruce would have respected that. He always said the first step to mastery is admitting you know nothing. David stands, holds the box carefully, like it contains something holy, because it does. What do I do with these? Keep them. Read them when you doubt yourself. Remember that the greatest martial artist of the 20th century watched you pretend to be a martial artist and found something true in the pretending. Dan opens the office door. And come back, not to learn fighting. You're too old for that. But maybe you can teach my students something about stillness that I cannot teach them. Something Bruce saw in you that even I do not fully understand. David walks out of the office, through the school, past the students who watch him with different eyes now. Not the eyes of judgment, the eyes of curiosity. He stops at the door, turns back to Dan. Thank you. Do not thank me. Thank Bruce. He saw you when no one else was looking. He found value when everyone expected him to find only theft. David walks out into the Los Angeles night, holding a wooden box full of handwritten notes, holding the unexpected blessing of a man he never met. He reads those notes for the rest of his life, whenever he doubts himself, whenever the guilt returns, whenever he wonders if he deserved anything he received. Bruce Lee watched him. Bruce Lee studied him. Bruce Lee found something worth respecting. That is the inheritance David Carradine never expected. Not fighting techniques, not martial arts secrets. Recognition, from the one person whose recognition actually mattered. He once said that the hardest role he ever played was not Kane, not Bill, but himself. A man caught between what he pretended to be and what he wanted to become. And maybe that is why his story still resonates, because we all know that feeling, the gap between the mask and the face beneath it. Is there a moment in your life where someone saw through your mask, or a moment where you finally took it off yourself? David Carradine walked through Hollywood for 50 years, carrying questions most people never ask out loud, about authenticity, about legacy, about what it means to be real in a world that rewards pretending. If you want to know the real stories, the ones they did not put in the interviews, you are in the right place. We are peeling back the curtain on the man behind the monk. If this story moved you, hit that like button. It helps more people discover these untold moments. Do not forget to subscribe to David Carradine, The Untold Path. We are just getting started. There are stories about Bruce Lee's daughter, about the pilgrimage to Hong Kong, and about the funeral where everything changed. You do not want to miss what is coming next. Leave a comment below. What is your favorite David Carradine role? And did you know he carried this much weight behind the calm? I will see you in the next video. Walk the path.